Hello guys, welcome to EduTap. As we already know that we are running a success story series on our YouTube channel, and today there is one success story with us, and the name of the story is Mr. Ashish. Hello Ashish,
Hello,
welcome to EduTap.
thank you. How are you?
I'm very good, and
Okay,
it's a real pleasure to have you with us on our channel. Thank you so much for
same,
joining us again.
same here. Thank you so much.
And guys, this is to inform you that Ashish has made it to the DEPR list. He's not from the journalist candidate. He has a specialist profile, which is DEPR, Department of Economic and Policy Research. So we will start with, let me give you the layout, Ashish. We'll
Yeah,
start with
sure.
the just general background, general things related to you. Some general questions will be there. And
Okay,
then we talk about the strategy part, the phase one, the phase two, and the interview part.
great. Yeah,
So guys who are looking for DPR as a post, here is an interview for you. And please, if anything misses out, you just post it in the comment section and we will try to uh, answer that query later on. So Ashish, just tell us about your educational background and how you came across this RBI examination.
yeah. So I'll begin from the beginning. So I had 12 science background, and I did it here itself from my native town. And then I had at that time I had in mind to go for civil services examinations, and therefore I chose chose to pursue BA economics. And that's when I took admission in Ferguson College, Pune. And but having entered, and exploring there, I got to know that in these times, it's important for us to have a master's degree or any kind of technical skill, which is essential if you at all want to survive in the coming times. So I chose to go for master's degree, and I got admission into master's MSc Economics in Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics, again in Pune. I did my master's there, and throughout the period, I was interested in Indian economic services, but I was also confused about to go for research and teaching profession. So I did teaching for around 9 to 10 months in Ferguson College, Pune again. And later on, I decided that I would love to go into research job, but that would be a public policy research job. So I therefore, so as to prepare and also gain further skills, research skills, I got admission into JNU, and I'm currently doing MPhil there at Center of Economic Studies and Planning. And during my MPhil, I started my preparations for Indian Economic Services, and that's when I got to know that you can do a similar kind of a thing for RBI, and you can be a research, you can work with RBI at this, doing the similar, in a similar job profile. So that's when I got to know, and I gave first attempt just to see what the exam is and to test waters. And then in 2021, I started preparing for it seriously, and here I am.
Okay. So I think you mentioned it that you started your preparation around Jan when the notification comes. So there was a gap of just hardly 10 to 15 days.
Yes, yeah.
So how you manage your preparation, because this is entirely a technical, though you have a background in that.
Yeah, true.
But
true.
Still every exam requires special attention.
Yes, right. So yeah. So I think majority of the syllabus of this exam is revolving around what you have learned in masters. So if you have already done that master's program, and that's when you're qualified or eligible to even appear for the exams, like DPR, RBI Grade B DPR. But as far as preparation of RBI is concerned, so I did talk to a few of my seniors from JNU with respect to what are the kind of questions that are asked, and what strategy can be adopted. And the thing that helped me the most was my previous attempt, my attempt in the year 2020, 2019, which got me wherein I was more clear about the number of questions that are asked, the kind of focus that you have. So particularly for RBI DPR, you can separate out certain topics that will be primarily focused in pre, and certain topics that have more emphasis in mains examination. So like unlike Indian economic services, therefore I did decide on the areas that I would have to work on for pre and then mains and accordingly.
Okay.
So yeah.
So what is if we talk about suppose though you are now in the RBI, suppose you hadn't made it to the list. So what was your backup plan? Because you already had a MPhil degree. So was
Yeah,
there
true.
a plan? Already a plan was there in place?
So actually, I hadn't yet decided, but I had two, three options. So first is that I could continue working like as a research, like not continue, I mean, join as a research associate somewhere in the research institution, like by the central government. That was one plan. Second was to apply for PhD, but I wasn't really into the, that because I wanted to get into PhD after having had some kind of public policy research experience. I wasn't sure about PhD, so but I was planning to or hoping to continue with some kind of research associate job while preparing for these examinations, and otherwise some kind of corporate job as a data analyst or in the economist role. But I wasn't too like I hadn't thought like given it much of a thought. Yeah, it was a little bit worrying that what to do if this doesn't get cleared. But yeah, so I had in the back of the mind, but during the preparation, I didn't let it affect me because that is something after that I have to decide. I mean, after the results.
After this.
So yeah.
Because many of the time aspirants are worried during the time of the preparation.
Yeah, exactly, and that is something. I mean, it's a point of worry, but it. Personally, I felt that it is somehow affecting my preparation. So I was like, that is this a matter of concern for me right now? So when the results, let's say, come out by September, I will at least have 2 to 3 months to decide on what to do. So I just left that question, let us see what happens. I mean, after this, and then we can
Because
decide.
see, many a times the aspirants, what they do, they think of the dream more rather than putting into the efforts.
Exactly.
And which actually lowers the level of their efforts that they need to put in.
True.
So that's why I mentioned it, because they thought a lot about the dream and some backup plan, but rather than thinking on the efforts part, they are lacking on that. So that's why I put this up. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're very right. I mean, this worry is genuine as far as like with respect to a backup plan. But I mean, I'm remembering a sentence by one of my friends. He like she told me that it's important for you to focus on the tasks instead of the goal. So let's say when I'm preparing for pre, I'll just focus on the topics that I have to finish in the next month, and instead of thinking of the entire backup plan. So I mean, I'm not saying that get into it without having a backup plan or something, but it's not necessary to just fret about it and not prepare. So yeah.
So I think we have covered most of the general questions related to the background and all the things that you have faced through. And now coming to the strategy part.
Okay.
So we will divide our strategy as per our examination pattern, phase one. First, we talk about the phase one. So phase one, every year there are number of question varies, and also there is different marking pattern in terms of the question. But there are 4-mark questions, there are 3-mark question, 2 marks, and 1 marks. And also even in terms of negative marking, that is also different. I think the even number have, I think, half of the as negative marking, and odd number have 1/3, if I'm correct on this.
Yes. So 4 numbers and so 4 marked and 2 marked. So let's say there's a negative marking, so it's like 2 marks and 1 mark will be reduced respectively. And for 1 and 3, it's 1/3.
Yeah. So actually, negative marking can largely affect your performance in the objective section. So what was your way of attempting these questions? Because all the questions are from the technical background.
True. So I'll take a little bit, more time on this because
sure.
So in the first attempt, I had this strategy of trying to maximize the expected marks. Therefore, I went for taking a measured guess as and when possible, by elimination or things like that. But somehow, so I remember attempting somewhere around of 85 marks, but scored somewhere only around 52. My score was only 52. But in the second attempt, I had determined that I would only go for the questions that I'm sure about. And why is this the case? Because when I looked at the questions in the when I got an idea of what kind of questions or level of difficulty that is there in the question, there are typical in typical MA entrance examination questions, the kind of and the level of complexity that you expect. For example, in JNU's MA entrances or Gokhale or HCU's MA entrances, that is the level of the question. So it's not necessarily. I mean, so if I practice well for a certain type of questions, I can get better score. And that's what happened with me. I gained somewhere around 12.5 marks by using this strategy. So why to go for this? I mean, why did I go for this was that so for example, you have very basic numerical questions. So the numericals with respect to, so if you talk about macro, you have ISLM numericals wherein you have to find simply rate of interest and like equilibrium rate of interest and income. If you talk about, let's say, factor markets, you have to come up with what would be equilibrium wage level or equilibrium rate of interest. So there are these very basic numericals that you can practice, and if you practice well enough, you know that you can get a score. So for example, you have very simple numerical that can fetch you 3 marks instead of, so give, like, I decided to give that more time instead of, taking a quick look and trying to attempt all the questions. So yeah, that's what I would recommend. I mean, I did this, that just go for very particular answers. I mean, questions that you're very sure of.
Okay. So that was about the strategy related to the objective, because questions can vary from 58 to 65 marks anywhere. You can always get a surprise from the RBI's end.
True.
But you have suggested a very good strategy that how you can maximize your score related to the objective. Now coming to the sources, because there is a difference in phase 1 and phase 2. The entire syllabus we can say in entirety is almost same.
Yeah.
So was there a different approach? First talk about the sources, then we talk about the strategy related to both the phases. Yeah, first.
Okay, so with respect to sources, what I found was that it's beneficial to focus on certain topics with respect to pre. So let's say, you can expect numericals from producers theory and a little bit of conceptual kind of questions. So for producers theories part, I did refer to Kotsayanis, and for consumer theory and welfare economics part, I did refer to variance. So and the questions, the numericals or the chapter exercises given, I think they are, I mean, the degree or the level of complexity is similar. So you cannot pinpoint the exact source for the entire subject, but let's say for producer theory, Kotsayanis, and for consumers and welfare economics, variance, and you can also refer to variance workbook for numericals. And there are previous year MA entrances question papers available online, so you can go and practice them as much as possible. So during pre, instead of reading and revising it in in every small detail, I focused on knowing the concept well enough and practicing numericals as much as possible. So let's say on the 6th of March, if you had the exam was scheduled on 6th of March, I started and focused only on practicing numericals from 7th of February or something. So that is one thing. And yeah, in pre, as far as the econometrics and statistics portion is concerned, so cover up the entire basic econometrics by Gujarati, and be very particular about the chapter exercises. Solve them all. You have solution manual online available, which you can download. And with respect to matrix, econometrics in the matrix form, you can refer to Woolridge's appendix. That covers up previously it has been found that for last 3-4 years, there are minimum 2 questions from matrix algebra and econometrics with matrix algebra. So you can focus, and the level of difficulty is not that great. It is from the appendix from the Woolridge introductory econometrics. So yeah, that is done. And yeah, also look for any basic mathematics, like mathematics or economics books for the basic matrix algebra operations. With respect to statistics, there were questions, for example, sampling with, questions on the topic sampling with replacement, without replacement, and probability theory that can be covered in very like in any basic statistics books, for example, Shom series or something. But be very particular about focusing on conceptual clarity with respect to, what is a basic concept, and practice on the numericals or exercises. That was that as far as the sources and the topics, like sources for the topics in three.
Okay. So there is I think I'm not sure about, because I'm not a specialist of DEPR, but there is a rumor in the market that RBI tends to ask almost the similar kind of questions in the phase 1 and the phase 2 as well. They generally ask on the same expected lines. We can especially categorize that this is only for the phase 1 and this is only for the phase 2. Is this really true?
In my opinion, or in my perception, I don't think it is true, except for the welfare and exchange economics question. But there are clear-cut, different areas that I focused on and found it to be useful with respect to, pre and mains phase. So to give an example, so let's say in pre-phase, you would in prelims you would have a lot of questions from ISLM and other BOP related questions. But in mains, you would there are very, very high chances of having a question from open economics, open economy ISLM or Mundell-Fleming model. Also with respect to econometrics, in pre-phase, you can expect a lot of questions from the basic, first half of the Gujarati. But in the main phase, so for example, there was a question on among the 10 questions, there's at least one question which involves writing short notes on. So in the short notes on, you have questions from time series econometrics, like vector autoregression model and stuff like that. And also in the interview, they particularly focus on time series econometrics. So I think there isn't an overlap as such, except for the welfare economics part that I did observe in this attempt.
So I think you have explained all the sources, and I think these are also the sources for phase 2 as well. The Gujarati, I think, because these books I came across.
Yeah, true. But
so I want you to explain the complete sources for the phase 2 as well right now.
Okay, great. So with respect to phase 2, I think phase 2, it is more inclined towards, macroeconomics, and one or two questions can be expected from development economics. I haven't, in my previous attempt and even in this attempt, I haven't seen any question from statistics as such. That takes major portion, or full, I don't remember, I think, full 20 marks question dedicated entirely to statistics or econometrics wasn't there. So what I did was I focused primarily on macroeconomics, development economics, and Indian economy. So one of the two sets is primarily focused on Indian economics, but there is some sort of application-based kind of a question. So with respect to macroeconomics, I stuck to Freund and go through it entirely from beginning to end. There is, you just cannot skip any page from Freund, because that's like the, you can consider it as Bible for macroeconomics as far as Indian Economic Services and RBI Grade B DEPR is concerned. With respect to development economics, I did do first four, 5 chapters from Devraj Ray, and the chapters that have Lewis model and Harris-Fedora model. And I also for Caldor model, for Caldor's model of growth, I did refer to EPG Pathshala's sources that are available online. And for a certain for models like Big Push, Balanced Budget, and earlier models, I referred Jingan, but I would highly recommend that do not stay limited to Jingan. It's a very basic book which you should refer to, or which should start which you should refer to while answering only when there is nothing else available in your mind. So that is with respect to macro and in development economics. With respect to international economics, Salvatore is a must. So I did focus on selected chapters, but I mean, I primarily had notes of a friend which I referred to, but chapters on BOP, Mundell-Fleming model, and Heck-Scholem theorem, Stolper-Samuelson theorem. These are a must from Salvatore. And yeah, primarily, yeah. So, and Indian economy, with respect to Indian economy, that year's budget and econ survey is must, because you would, like, out of the 10 questions, one question would be such that it can be answered only by reading like one of the chapters from the volume 1 economic survey. So economic survey from top to bottom is a must. And you can also read annual report, state of the economy from RBI's annual report. That's also very extensive like report which gives an idea of Indian economy. Third thing that you can do with respect to Indian economy is that you can highlight key major points that are happening. So for example, you can, let's say, so during our time, it was very obvious that there would be a question on COVID. So what are the impacts of COVID on growth, employment, and economy in general? What are the government solutions? So as far as studying the Indian economy is concerned, what you can do is you can categorize any topic in three aspects. First is the nature of problem. Second is what are the causes of this problem, and third is what are the possible solutions. And I would highly recommend that. So you can refer to Vision IAS and other online material that is available. But if you're an econ graduate, I think you should have your own analysis which you can build up by reading more on the data which is available directly. You can also visit IBEF's website. There you have monthly economic reports, so to remain updated. So I would highly recommend that for Indian economy you use these sources. So phase 2 simply consists of macroeconomics, development economics, international economics, and Indian economy. You have a few questions from microeconomics as well, but I did focus only on these aspects.
Okay. So there is one question that is coming into my mind, because you have to refer multiple books to cover each of these topics and multiple sources.
Yeah.
So were you making your own notes, or were you just referring these sources?
So given that you do not have everything in one book, I did make detailed notes of at least 60 to 70% of the syllabus, because otherwise it becomes extremely difficult to revise it before the examination. Yeah, so notes was an top priority for me, and but I did start preparing my notes earlier in 2019 itself. So when I was preparing for Indian Economic Services. Yeah. So those notes helped me, but I think given that, so there is no one textbook that that is perfect for these examinations. Yeah. With DEP, as far as DEPR is concerned. So there is no option but to keep referring to different sources, and therefore no matter how well your concepts are, it's important to reproduce them in the examination. Therefore, revision is of utmost importance, and that's for the notes.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, because even for the type of the exam, this is especially the phase 2. You have even for the descriptive, you have to pen it down. So it would be better to have notes of your own that are penned down by you rather than referring the books every time.
Yes, true.
Okay.
Because it becomes very hectic otherwise.
Okay. So I think you have answered. Yeah, there is one question regarding that phase 2. You have referred the phase 2 sources, explained it very beautifully. And just one thing that is key. Was there a trouble regarding the because see, there are 10 questions, and out of those 10, you have to pen it down the 5 answers.
Yeah, true.
So is there a problem related to the word limit?
Yeah, so actually I'm still confused with respect to this, because so as far as the examination is concerned, they only give you time limit and no word limit.
No word limit.
Yeah, so this time I focused writing structured answers. It can be detailed. So I simply decided that I only have time limit, so I should not worry about the word limit. Therefore, I wrote extensive answer, but I would recommend not to trust me on this one, because I have scored a little less in mains. So
okay,
I would I don't don't think I'm the right person to recommend anything on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I
And
think,
yeah, sorry
yeah,
to interrupt.
yeah.
Even here, practicing it is very important. I mean, I could do extensive practice for prelims and interview, and I scored, comparable score with. I mean, it was a very good score, like well above average. But in mains, so I couldn't practice. So I would highly recommend that even if you studied less or haven't been able to cover the entire syllabus, practice whatever you have done. Yeah.
Okay. So that's a good advice for the phase two aspirants, guys. If you are looking at what are the sources that you need to refer, please, here is a complete analysis of the different sources, and all the suggestions related to phase two are being given by our now the RBI manager, Mr. Ashish. so so thank you for telling about the strategy part. Now coming to the interview.
Yeah.
So as you are from the specialist background,
Yeah.
so I think your interview was mostly on the technical, was it HR?
So one question which I think was asked by chairperson, that was personal question. I mean, and general question, but rest of the questions are technical, but subjective. I mean, what is your analysis of a particular problem, or how would you address this issue? Or even if they ask you, let's say, questions with respect to econometrics, that is like, how would you model this, or how would you estimate this? So it's technical but also subjective. It's not the case that you will be asked a question or derivation of something like that.
Okay, so basically they want what are your analytical skills in terms of the presentation of particular issue,
Yes,
and what's your take on that?
yeah, true. What I could find, I mean, by hearing the interview experiences of other friends, they explicitly, so first of all, there is no set pattern that this is how interview would go. They might pick up something from your biodata that you have submitted, and based on that, your interview can go anywhere. But so let's say my interview began with, I have an MSc economics degree, and typically for economics you have MA. So my interview began with economics being science or art. So first of all, the chairperson, he asked that like, how different is this degree from MA? Personally, I didn't feel it to be very different from regular MA economics. So I tried to give them answer with respect to that what my institution had told them. But then I was very honest that there is no difference as such. And then there was, I mean, that was a low point a little bit in the interview. But I think honesty maybe that paid off well. But yeah, point being, point of telling this was that my interview began with art, like economics as art or science, and all the questions that were asked, they were built upon this. So not just the analytical skill, but also your depth of understanding. So you just cannot say that, okay, I have done, let's say, telecom sector, and you have overviewed it. So the strategy for UPSC or RBI Grade B general DR post can be different, but with respect to specialist position, I think, I mean, what was obtained, what was observed in other 5-6 interviews that I could hear experiences about, that they peel off the layers of your understanding. So it's important to have a very depth or not just conceptual understanding, but in-depth understanding of anything that you speak or any word that you use in the interview.
Okay, so you have given a fair idea about the interview, that those who are preparing for DEPR for the next year, they get a fair idea that up to what level they need to prepare and what could be the lines of the interview. So basically, if I summarize it, it's basically on the analytical lines, and what's your take on one particular issue? Because only then you will be able to take this how you can analyze, because if you have the conceptual clarity, so you need to have a knowledge, you also need to have analytical abilities, and also how you present it.
Yes, and it's important. I mean, it's better if you could give your logical arguments for what you're saying. So, and not just like there can, so for example, for a question like this, what's your take on the liquidity stance or the accommodative policy stance of RBI? So that was a question asked to me, and I gave a general answer. I mean, because I had in the mind that I would answer any question from like in between 50 to 80 seconds. So I gave a very general answer with respect to the policy. But then they asked me to answer it in detail. Then I went on to give specific technical details with respect to the policy stance. So I think that is expected of you to give the to have the logical understanding and being able to quote not exact figures, but what is the general trend, let's say for inflation, or what are the sources of inflation, to be able to have to corroborate your understanding or your opinion for. So you cannot give general opinion. You have to have opinion sound in theory also. So yeah.
Okay. So I think you have explained each and every point very explicitly and in a very crisp manner that what is required for the interview preparation.
Yeah.
So coming to one more question, have you taken any mock interviews prior to this, the main one?
Yeah. So the interview, like I did take 2 interviews, mock interviews. One was of course from EduTap, and the faculty from EduTap, like the inputs from them were very essential with respect to, so for example, you have to go through RBI website in detail and and focus on DEPR, what aspects to focus on. That's where the EduTap's mock interview helped me. And there were other interviews like from other coaching classes, and but also one of the things which helped me was I took extensive interviews with from my friends. So like one of my friend was preparing for UPSC Civil Services, and even he had BA Economics. So it was a period of around like 15 to 25 days, wherein every day I took the mock interview. And so we used to decide at the beginning of the day that this is the topic that we will be interviewing at night today, and then based on on that topic, I used to give mock interviews. So it's like I gave around 15 to 20 mock interviews that were like on a personal level, but mock interviews, there were 2 mock interviews, one with EduTap and one with the other.
Okay. So Ashish, you have explained each and every point related to the strategy of the RBI as an examination. Just few general questions remaining.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So see, a lot of aspirants will be looking at you, especially those who are looking for the DEPR.
True.
So what will be your final words of conclusion for this DEPR as an examination, and what will be your motivational words for the future aspirants?
Okay. So final words of conclusion would be, focus or do well what you have learned in masters. And even if you're not from top-notch university like Delhi School of Economics or ISI, it's okay. Even then you can clear it if you strategize accordingly. So just rely on whatever you have been taught in masters, but the sources that I have mentioned, please go through them well. I mean, you should be able to explain each and single line from those books that I have told. That's when you can say that you have got the conceptual clarity. And second point, practice. Be it interview, be it face-to-face pre. You have to practice. More you practice, higher your chances of getting good score. With respect to motivation, I think it's not something that is out of the world, or like the way people make it out to be. If you do it consistently and do it honestly, so be honest to the subject and not necessarily to the exam. So like when it's point of being honest to the exam, that's when the practice formula comes in. That's when be honest to the exam before the exam. So let's say, for example, like during the year in which you're preparing for exam, be honest to it. But let's say if you are doing a master's right now, or 1 or 2 years prior to the exam, be very honest to the subject, and that's what helped me. So learn economics for economics sake, and then while giving exam, have exam in mind. Don't try to mix these 2 things together. It's okay if you take 2 to 3 years or 2 or 3 attempts, but don't just, if you don't have that kind of conceptual clarity and everything, don't just start focusing on the exams like in the beginning itself. And it doesn't matter if you're from state university or from what university, or even for that matter IGNOU or anything. Study for it, and in a calm manner, and do not think about future. Think about, I mean, have a backup. It's not, I mean, it's good to have given the level of competition, but try and practice mindfulness during the preparation. That has helped me immensely. Yeah.
So I think you have given such a beautiful advice to the future aspirants, and they will definitely be looking at this, because the suggestion that you have given, you need to be honest with your subject.
Yeah.
Only then you will be able to deliver it in the real examination, and you need to have
Yeah.
proper examination type of thinking during the time of the examination.
Yeah, exactly.
So those are just
During
the beautiful
preparation
lines.
phase. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 1 month before the exam, just, I mean, be honest with the exam. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is a very genuine and honest suggestion for the future aspirants. Guys, please take this down, note it down wherever you can. Please remember these words, because there are times when you feel that what you need to do, and only at that moment these inspirations, these wordings can help you, that how you need to cater that particular situation. So Ashish, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for taking out the time, the efforts that you have taken. Whatever the content that you have provided to the future aspirants, it will definitely help them.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful to talk to you. Yeah.
And again, we would like to congratulate you on your success. Wish you a very happy journey ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. See you.